Picture this: a movie where the lead actor wasn't supposed to exist. The villain was redesigned mid-shoot, and the set literally collapsed. Welcome to the chaos behind Men in Black. Before we pull back the curtain on Hollywood's most guarded alien secrets, hit subscribe, because what you're about to discover will change how you watch this film forever. Let's start with something that should terrify any film executive. Imagine you've spent 8 months casting your lead actor. You've done costume fittings, table reads, weapons training, and then, 2 weeks before cameras roll, he quits. That's exactly what happened when Chris O'Donnell, fresh off Batman and Robin, was set to play Agent J. His agent convinced him that playing another sidekick would destroy his career as a leading man. Columbia Pictures went into full panic mode. They'd pursued O'Donnell exclusively, and suddenly they had no plan B. David Schwimmer said no because of Friends. Matthew Perry declined for the same reason. Brendan Fraser was already booked. And here's the kicker: Will Smith wasn't even on their list because studio executives thought he was too comedic for the role. But this is where Hollywood magic happens in the most unexpected ways. Smith's agent called Columbia directly and essentially forced them to give Will a chance. Smith flew to New York on his own money, walked into that audition wearing a black suit he'd purchased just for this moment, and improvised the entire swagger that would become Agent J's signature. That confidence, that I make this look good energy, it wasn't in the script. It was pure Will Smith convincing a room full of doubters that he was born for this role. Director Barry Sonnenfeld knew immediately. With filming starting in 14 days and no other options, Smith was offered the role with a 48-hour deadline. He signed instantly. But getting the right actor was just the beginning of the chaos. Once filming started, something fascinating happened between Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. For the first 4 weeks of production, Jones refused to speak to Smith off camera. Not during lunch breaks, not between takes, not at all. Smith tried making small talk. Jones would just stare at him silently and walk away. The crew thought Jones genuinely disliked his co-star. But here's the brilliant method behind what seemed like madness. Jones was deliberately creating authentic emotional distance. He wanted Smith to feel exactly what Agent J would feel, a rookie being dismissed by a hardened veteran. That awkwardness you see on screen came from genuine discomfort. After 4 weeks, Jones finally invited Smith to dinner and explained his strategy. Now, while the actors were figuring out their dynamic, the production faced an even bigger crisis. 3 weeks into filming, Barry Sonnenfeld watched the dailies of their main villain, Edgar the Bug, and realized they had a massive problem. The design was generic, forgettable, neither scary nor funny. So he made a decision that should have destroyed the production. He halted everything and demanded industrial light and magic completely redesign the film's primary antagonist. Think about that for a second. They'd already spent $2.3 million on the original design, built animatronics, programmed digital effects, all of it scrapped. Vincent D'Onofrio had trained for weeks to move like an insect based on that original design, and suddenly all that preparation was useless. The new concept was brilliant, but insane. The bug wouldn't be a creature. It would be an alien wearing a human, like an uncomfortable suit. Something that moved wrong and looked almost right, but fundamentally disturbing. ILM had 9 days to pull off what normally takes months because Columbia refused to delay filming any longer. Over 80 artists worked around the clock, creating new designs, animatronics, and digital models simultaneously. D'Onofrio had to completely relearn his performance from scratch. The redesign added $4.7 million to the budget and caused 12 days of delays. But that decision transformed a forgettable villain into an iconic one. Sometimes the most expensive mistakes become the most valuable creative choices. Speaking of creative choices, let's talk about one of the film's most quotable moments. A scene that wasn't even in the script. When Agent J confronts the Arquillian Prince about Earth's impending destruction, that entire intergalactic kegger rant was pure improvisation. The original script had one boring line about finding the galaxy. Sonnenfeld felt it was too flat and told Smith to make it urgent. What happened next is why Will Smith became a global superstar. He improvised a 3-minute comedic masterpiece that included every memorable line from that scene. Tommy Lee Jones, who'd memorized specific responses to scripted dialogue, suddenly had to abandon his preparation and react authentically to whatever Smith threw at him. You can actually see Jones processing in real time, genuinely figuring out how to respond. When test audiences watched both versions, the improvised take scored 37% higher. Columbia executives initially fought to use the scripted version because they'd paid writers for specific dialogue, but Sonnenfeld refused to back down. That improvisation cost $217,000 in reshoots, but became one of the film's most memorable sequences. But here's where the production story gets genuinely dangerous. The massive MIB headquarters was built inside an abandoned World War II-era airplane hangar in California. 3 weeks into filming, structural engineers discovered the roof was actively deteriorating and could potentially collapse. The production was evacuated immediately. Engineers calculated a 40% chance of catastrophic failure within 3 months, and they couldn't wait that long. The set had cost $6.2 million to build. Moving it would cost $4 million and take 6 weeks. Reinforcing the existing structure would cost $2.8 million and take 4 weeks. Columbia chose reinforcement, and over 200 construction workers installed steel support columns while filming continued around them. Some scenes actually show those support beams in the background, digitally removed later. But here's the terrifying detail nobody publicized. During the final week of filming in that location, a section of roof did partially collapse at 3 in the morning when nobody was present. The production had finished filming there just 11 hours earlier. If that collapse had happened during shooting, dozens of cast and crew could have been killed. They literally escaped disaster by hours. And here's one final detail that perfectly captures the insanity of this production. The film's iconic look, that cool 60s style technology and futuristic headquarters, wasn't even created for the movie. Designer Bo Welch found concept art from a canceled Universal Studios theme park ride called the Men in Black Experience, scrapped in 1995. He thought the designs were perfect. But here's the crazy part. Universal owned the designs, yet had to license them to Columbia for $300,000 after 6 weeks of arguing with themselves. The biggest irony? Universal canceled the ride because they thought Men in Black wasn't exciting enough visually. After the film became a massive hit, they finally built the ride in 1999 using those same rejected designs. If this story blew your mind, smash that like button right now. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our deep dives into Hollywood's most guarded secrets. Drop a comment below telling me which behind-the-scenes revelation shocked you the most. Was it the collapsing set, the 7 different pugs, or Vincent D'Onofrio's heart scare